following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. Mets baseball, past, present, future. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and the co-hosts of the show are Marty Rose and Robert Cole, and they are both present and accounted for. Robert, how are you first?
Doing good, Ralph, doing good.
Good. And Marty, you too, I hope?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Another beautiful day in Florida today. Yep.
Well, it's cold and nasty in California. We're having 40 to 50 degrees and blustery, cold for us, wind, or not wind so much as rain. It's raining on and off, but...
yeah, we had about 70 today, so 72. Very nice.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Let's talk a little Metsy ball. Good things happening. There was an article that, Robert, you posted on your Mets site on Facebook, and I read it, and I wonder if you'd like to elaborate on the happenings and what that article talked about.
Yeah, I was a little hesitant, when the new general manager took over, Cody Van Wagen. Not sure what was going to happen. He surrounded himself with some very, very good baseball people. He set out with a goal of filling some weaknesses, some of those weaknesses being catcher, center fielder, back end of the bullpen. He's done that. And then now this week he's made some trades that they really didn't raise many eyebrows as far as, exciting. There was no Bryce Harper, no Manny Machado, but he strengthened the depth of this team, which has been lacking the last couple of years. He's also added some depth to the minor league system at the higher level. He has given up some lower-level players that may wind up being very good in the future, but none of these players that were moved the other way were any higher than A-ball. So, you really don't know. A couple of them may turn out to be gems. A couple of them maybe not. Just going over a couple of them real quick. They signed Wilson Ramos as a free agent, which meant that they were a little deep, believe it or not, in the catching spot. They also picked up the option on Travis d'Arnaud. So they also had Kevin Plawecki and Thomas Nido. And they traded Plawecki to Cleveland. And in the process picked up a right-handed pitcher by the name of Walker Lockett and an infielder by the name of Sam Haggerty. Both who played in the AAA last year, and they're probably going to be depth pieces. And then the one maybe major move they made was a trade they made with Houston. They sent 3 low-level minor league players, and they got J.D. Davis and Cody Bahanek. J.D. Davis was the Pacific Coast League Batter of the Year last year. Didn't do much in the majors, but hasn't been given much of a chance. And a lot of scouts say that if given the chance, he's going to develop into a real good ball player, and he may be the future third baseman of this team. And then they picked up a depth piece at center field in Keon Broxton. Now, if you look at Broxton last year, nothing to get excited about. He spent most of the year in the minors. But if you look 2 years ago, he stole 20 bases, hit 17 home runs, and he's every bit as good a center fielder as Juan Lagares. And so center field, as far as defensively, should be a real good strength this year.
He seems to have a little more pop than Lagares as well.
Yes. But
and
as far as
there is absolutely no way he can be as injury-prone, pray God, that Lagares is. Lagares simply doesn't stay healthy and hasn't for about 3 or 4 years. And it's time to pull the plug as far as I'm concerned.
Well, with not needing to play every day, maybe they can rein him in a little bit. It certainly makes the depth a lot better out there. You're going to have a real true center fielder every day, as opposed, to try and corner outfielders like Conforto and Nemo, who belong in the corners and not in center field.
Yeah, they picked up a left-handed pitcher for the bullpen too.
Yes, Hector Santiago, who they actually signed to a minor league contract, but I fully expect him to be on the major league roster.
Yeah, and you guys informed me that Blevins is no longer a Met.
No, he's a free agent.
Free agent, yeah. So
yeah.
He hasn't signed
anything. Hey, is this a lot more than we ever expected in terms of moving and going forward in a very, very slow market? Been very few trades in baseball going on. He seems to be a take charge GM, and he's going for it. That's important. You want to see them doing something. Almost the old expression, do something even if it's wrong. The only way it can be wrong. Pardon me?
Ralph, he changed a lot of names, and a lot of these guys that we used to call yo-yos because they were up and down like 3 or 4 times a year, they're gone. But some of these guys that were picked up this past week, may wind up being similar to those guys that we let go, like Kelly and those type of players,
Right.
So I don't think very many of these guys are going to make much of an impact, at least right away. You're hoping that at least one of these guys between J.D. Davis and Kean Broxton can nail down a center field job between one of those two and Lagares at least. So that's a positive. But a lot
like
of
the article says, they're trying to plug the what-if holes. What if Alonso, for instance, isn't ready? What if he never becomes ready? Now they're talking about having enough depth to at least cover it. If they think enough of the third baseman they were acquired to say he may someday take over for Frazier, then that means if Alonso doesn't make it this year or he's not ready, Frazier could move over to first base. And
good, or McNeil could be put there, or Dom Smith could try Dom Smith again. I think from what we saw of McNeil last year, I think he earned a spot to play every day. So, if Alonso doesn't make it, I would try him at first before anybody else.
Well, I'd try him at third and Frazier at first if Alonso doesn't make it. I'd like McNeil to be in there somewhere, somehow, just because he sets the table. And those guys are so hard to find in today's day and age that I think that's a major plus.
Yeah, Van Wagenen made it sound a couple of times I've heard him talking about McNeil, that they envision McNeil almost like a super utility player, and that he knows it's necessary to get him in every day. He'll probably play some first, some second. Cano's not going to play 162 games at second base. You know that. So McNeil's going to get some time there. Frazier, was injury prone last year. He'll get some time at third base. And I surely expect him to also get an outfield glove and play some left field and right field as well. So I think he'll...
You're talking about McNeil.
McNeil, yes.
Yeah, that would be a super sub. Wow.
Yes.
That and you know, in today's day and age, when you're carrying like 12, 13, 14 pitchers on the roster, on a 25-man roster, your bench has to be flexible and they have to be versatile. And,
absolutely.
You
guys hear anything about T.J. Rivera at all? Because before he got hurt, he was showing signs that he could be a decent hitter. But I haven't heard a thing about him over the winter so far. You know.
I haven't either. Well, I just had a question for you guys, and it went bye-bye. So let me.
Senioritis.
Another senior moment. And I'm not. And it's a senior moment, but that's all I can make of it. It was a good question too, and it had to do. Oh, I'll tell you what it had to do with. It had to do with the possibility of doing business with the Giants. They are looking to move part of their bullpen, and I think at this moment the Giants have as good a bullpen as there is in baseball in terms of depth, and ironically, they may be looking for some outfield help, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Mets and Giants got together with a deal.
Well, there isn't a whole lot of depth on the Mets right now in the outfield, Ralph. I mean, you know.
No, but I would say they've made the statement by getting the guys that they got that Lagares is going to be out of the picture.
Not so sure about that. Because, I mean, they're very, very thin in the outfield right now. You know.
Okay, who was the outfielder that they picked up last year from the Giants that gave them some good innings?
Well, that was Jackson, but they didn't go back after him.
Okay.
Austin Jackson?
Austin Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a free agent also.
Yeah.
Okay. Comes to mind what I blanked on. One of the assistants they hired is, according to the article that Robert forwarded, was hired specifically because he has a technique, not a technique, but he has a way of evaluating minor league players to determine who is and who isn't going to make it. And they're placing a lot of confidence in that, but at least it's something. It's a plan. It's you're going with something. It isn't just a catcher's catch can like it was before. And the other thing I wanted to say is two of the pitchers that they got were Cleveland Indians, and the manager and the pitching coach are not far removed from being Cleveland Indians, and they've seen these guys along the way, coming up and spring training and what have you. I gotta feel confident. How do you feel, Marty?
Yeah, well, because just like you said, they've seen these guys and they know them, the guys that they got from Cleveland. So I feel the same way about that. They obviously saw something that made them think that these guys can at least contribute on the major league level in some way. So, it's definitely
and they kept the three-headed monster in the organization. Remember that from last year. And everybody seems happy to be there. going into spring training, notwithstanding Cespedes' I said it right, I didn't call him Canseco, and I've had 2 months to think about it. And I'm proud, by the way. I don't have much to be proud of in this here world. But there was a negative article, or I perceived it as being negative, that Cespedes may indeed not play at all this coming year.
Yeah, that's possible. That's what I'm reading into it too. Van Wegenen initially was talking about having him back, the end of July, beginning of August. Now he's tempering that, and it's sounding more and more like they're not going to count on him, which is a good thing. Okay, I think that's a good thing. If he does come back, great, but you don't want to have that in the back of your mind that he's going to come and then he doesn't come back. So you're better off moving on and not even having him in the equation. And if you do get him, all is well. But if you don't, nothing lost.
Right. It would have been nice to have Bruce, the way I look at it. And I'm not talking my brother, talking Jay Bruce.
Well, they almost had
Nimmo
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
If you want to give Nimmo a full-time shot, then this is going to be his chance.
And, you also have McNeil, too, don't forget. If Bruce is there, Bruce plays first, Bruce plays right, and then you're going to limit McNeil. So I liked Bruce, I really did, and I was disappointed that he didn't contribute more. But, hey, it is what it is, and I don't think that's going to be a tremendous loss.
Yeah, well, they had to dump $13 million, right, to help pay for Cano. So that was part of the situation. Yeah.
That is true. That is true. And Cano, was that signing a good one or not? And that's an open-ended question, a rhetorical question. We won't know until we may not even know after this year, because they're on the hook with him for a while. So we'll see. We'll see. The other question I wanted to ask you guys: Palicki was traded. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Was he traded for prospects? Who specifically did they get? And why did the Mets make the decision to re-sign d'Arnaud and trade Palicki? Did he just have more worth, more trade value? And if so, that should tell you something, I would think.
Well, I think d'Arnaud's a better hitter. I mean,
yes, he is.
As far as catching, it's pretty even. Although I never liked d'Arnaud's arm. I mean, he couldn't throw me out. I don't think, But
he couldn't throw you out right back in the day. I'll tell you that, Mert. You were deceivingly fast.
Back in the day, yeah. But
back in the day.
But they signed him. They signed d'Arnaud, and they gave him a little bit of a raise. So
yeah.
Why not?
And they
guys they got for him.
Robert
mentioned the guys they got for him earlier.
They picked up some depth pieces. A right-handed pitcher by the name of Walker Laquette.
Yeah, he's 24 years old.
Year. And an
and the other guy, Haggerty's 24 also.
Yeah.
So they're both young guys.
Yeah, young guys, and they've both been in the higher end of the minor leagues, as opposed to some of the players the Mets have traded. All the guys the Mets traded in these last couple of days are either A-ball or in the Dominican, basically. So.
Dunn was Double-A, I believe. Dunn was at Bingham.
Oh, yeah, it was in the original trade for Cano, you mean?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
He was.
But that was about it. The guys they traded to Houston for J.D. Davis and Cody Bohannon.
Right, I didn't even know these names, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Wasn't even
Ross
familiar
Adolph,
with those.
Louis Santana.
Bobby Wall, I know the name, but the other guys, Valerio and Hill and
right.
Santana and Adolph, I don't know who those guys were. So.
Yeah, they're all of them were in A-ball, either high A or low A.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're all young
what's
guys.
going to help this year, what's going to be really nice is having the top farm teams, Syracuse and Rochester, in Syracuse and Rochester.
Syracuse and Binghamton.
And Binghamton, not Rochester, right?
Yeah, they're right near each other. It's like an hour away, basically, from each other.
You thinking of Jack Benny in Rochester?
I was, as a matter of fact. And right on across from where I'm sitting at my desk by the computer is a picture of Jack Benny along with Charlie Finley and Bowie Kuhn at the 1973 World Series game number 6, where Jack Benny threw out the first pitch. And I don't know why, Charlie and Jack Benny got along for some reason, and Jack Benny would come in a number of times as a promotional thing or whatever, but he threw out the first pitch in the 6th game. It was the only World Series game I've ever been to in my life. It was the game that the Mets lost the 6th game. They were going to lose the 7th game, and I walked out of there, and I knew it. It was worst moment of fandom since Tom Seaver was traded. But Nancy Finley sent me that picture, as a matter of fact.
Nice.
And she does. She's a co-hostess on the A's broadcast on this here very network. And we're going to try to have a campaign on the network to get Charlie Finley in the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
He deserves it for a number of reasons, not the least of which he built a team that won 3 world championships in a row and 5 divisions in a row. So, not too bad.
No, well, on merit, he deserves it, okay, but it's going to have a hard road to hoe because he didn't make very many friends among the other owners and other executives. And that's what...
No, that's true, but they're not the ones voting, as far as I see it. A lot of guys can make...
Walter O'Malley is in. Finley certainly deserves to be in. But
Walter O'Malley in. If Yawk is in, the racist that he was, then a lot of guys need to be in, but a lot of guys need to be out too. That's good. That's good. Who would you pick as guys that are in and should be out? Marty.
Whoa.
Just
off
the top of your head.
Well, Gil Hodges comes to mind. I mean, there's a whole site on Facebook, get Gil Hodges into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
So I think he should be in there, no question.
No, but who's in and really should be out? Not that they're going to take him out, but who, in your opinion, is in and shouldn't be there?
Well, I felt before that, Mazeroski shouldn't be there, and he was only there because of his home run that he hit in the 1960 World Series. But things are changing, as far as how we judge players now at certain positions. So I don't know about that anymore. If the guy's like a really great fielder for a second baseman or shortstop, maybe do deserve to be in, even if their offensive statistics aren't that great. So,
okay. Let me ask Robert a question off the top of my head. Should a DH be in the Hall of Fame?
Now, yes. Okay, I've always been against it, but, it is now a position, and you have to treat it as such.
Yeah, I think Edgar's getting in this year.
I was just going to say, Edgar Martinez, I'm all for him getting in.
Yeah. I think
the only thing I worry about with Edgar Martinez is if he suffers the same fate as Gil Hodges. Very close, almost in, and then boom, and then you're not in. And then once you get dropped off the writer's ballot, you're at the mercy of whoever happens to be voting, in the veterans committees.
The eligibility is what, 10 years or 15 or what?
No, it's actually they lessened it. It's I think 8 or 10 years now.
It's probably 10. Okay.
Okay. Now here's the third question. And how about Bonds and Clemens? Marty.
Well, I think they're both going to get in. If not this year, before their time runs out, they're both going to get in. And the simple reason is that the younger guys are going to vote for them, and the older guys like Hal Bach lost their right to vote because they've been retired for a certain amount of years. And those were the guys that were very strongly against all these PED guys. But in the case of the two guys you mentioned, they both deserve to be in even before we knew that they were taking anything. And I don't approve of Sammy Sosa. I've seen some people voting for him. I think Sammy Sosa was 100% PEDs, where, if he wouldn't have taken them, we wouldn't even know who he was, in my opinion.
Right. I remember him, a skinny little guy at Texas. And he just absolutely ballooned up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what impresses me about the three of us and our dynamics? When I asked you guys a question, both of you modified how you felt over the years. Your subject, your minds are open to change, as is mine on whether or not Bonds and Clemens should be in. I never would have said that 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just proud of the three of us. We're in our 70s, and folks old folks like us traditionally were just of a mindset, whatever it is, you're not going to change. Hey, you got to be X number of years. Is he going to change now? Well,
yeah. Well, on that same thought level, we wouldn't have voted for DeGrom last year for the Cy Young Award because he only won like 10 games with our old thinking.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. That's you had me there for a second.
With the old thinking.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Times they are changing.
Times they are changing, and if you can't keep up, you're in big trouble in terms of adjusting and zigging and zagging. How about that?
Yeah, this is true.
Yes.
All right. Hey, this was a good show. Next week we'll have a little hot stove and we'll look back on the 86 Mets. And that should be fun.
Good.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you for everything. This is, turns out, I'm all over the internet. And there are a number of podcasts on the Mets, number of blogs on the Mets. We're right up there. We do it justice, and I'm proud of how this show has evolved. And thank you, everybody, for listening. How about that? Marty,
Great.
Robert, we'll be back soon.
Have a good week, guys.
Take care.
All right. Be well.
You.
The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.